First they start coming to Juma, and after a while they stop coming to Taraweeh, and after a while they don't even show up for the Eid, and and off they go. This is it. What is the future? These children are not going back someplace. So maybe some of you can think of going back someplace. Back to Pakistan, back to Indonesia, back to Egypt, back to Syria, back to somewhere. But those kids, there's no back to anywhere to go. They're here. How are they going to live? How are they going to know? How is this? They look at this, we know what this is like that. Okay, that's Medina, that's Mecca. Okay, we know that. I went to the flea market. You know all what a flea market is. I have my kufi, my topi on my head, like this. The boy close to me, he says, "Hey, what's that thing on your head?" I said, "This is my topi, this is on my head." He said, "Why are you wearing that?" He said, "You know, my grandfather used to wear something like that on his head." I said, oh. I said, "What's your name, son?" He said, "Jimmy." I said, "Jimmy? Jimmy?" He said, "Well, my name's Jamil." Oh, Jamil, mashallah. "What's your last name?" He tells me his last name. These are people who became Muslims at the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala in Palestine. He told me he doesn't know Bismillah, he doesn't know Fatiha. All he remembers is his grandfather used to do something and bow down on the floor, and sometimes he didn't eat. That's all he remembers. 2 generations and gone. This is what we're facing. People understand what we're facing. If you have children, how many of you have children here? See, practically everybody have children. Are you concerned for your children? Of course you're concerned for your children. How are they going to learn? Simply taking them one day a week and putting them in the hands of people like me, sending them to Muslim school, that's not enough. That's not enough. Allah says, "I do not change a people until what? Until they change themselves, until they change what is inside of themselves." You have to change. You're the ones that have to change. This has to become, as he says, more important to you than your mother, more important than your father, more important than your children, more important than your job, more important than anything in your life. If you have concern for your children and what they're going to become, if you don't have that, they're not going to have it. Because children look at their parents. Children look at their parents and what they see. If you come into the house and the first thing you do is flip on your TV, they know you're interested in the TV. If the Quran sits up on the shelf, and the only time the Quran comes off the shelf is when somebody dies and you read Yasin or something like that, they know that's, this is important. That's for problems. We use it for problems, but that's not what's really important. You see, that's how it works. This is what the job is with you. He says, if you want to develop this love of the Prophet ﷺ, there are 4 things that you have to pay attention to. 4 things, okay? The first thing is to follow his sunnah. Nothing without following his sunnah. Nothing. In other words, you say, well, about fasting, praying, do this. I know people, you say, he doesn't pray, he fasts Ramadan, like that. But is he following the sunnah? No. No! So what does the child see? What does the child see? Does he get up for Fajr? Does dad get up for Fajr? Does he pray Fajr? Does he call mom? Does he call the children and say, "Okay kids, come on, time to pray"? Does he do that? If he doesn't do that, how will the children know? How will they know? They won't know. They won't know. So this is the very first thing, if you want to change the situation of your life. What does this begin? What is the basic unit in the thing? Is a Muslim who is following what Allah has ordered him to do. That's the very first step. Okay, there's one person in the house that's doing that. Maybe this one person can convince their wife, or maybe the wife, sometimes the wives are better than the husbands, can convince her husband. I know a man, he told me, I said, "Who do you want to marry?" A young person said, "I want to marry the woman who will wake me up for Fajr." Huh? Yes. Sometimes the women are better than, but this have to happen. This one have to come too. The husband and the wife together. Together. Together, at least in the thing, how many people going to the masjid for Fajr? Very few. Why? Because you got to get in the car, get out of the car, get out, But, Okay, so there may be an excuse, but how many of the people sleeping? Sleeping! I used to walk with my sheikh to the Fajr prayer in Cairo, and we'd look up at the buildings, these buildings 10, 12 stories high, one light here, one light here, one light here, one light here, one light here. What does that mean? Everybody else where there's no light, sleeping, sleeping, sleeping. What is the hope for your children if you're sleeping at Fajr time? What's the hope? They know they see. Papa doesn't care. Mama's asleep. We're asleep. Everybody's asleep. Night. Islam run out the door. Islam run out the door. Ramadan come. Fasting? Yes, alhamdulillah. Fasting is still held by the Muslims strongly. That's a good blessing for us. The children see that. But they say, oh no, wait till you're 14, wait till you're 15, you don't have to fast. How will they learn? Children learn at 6 years old to fast. The kids like to fast. They want to fast. But if you don't encourage them, they won't do it. How will they learn? How will they learn? They learn when they're 13, they learn when they're 14, they wait till they're 15, or wait till you're a little bit older. It's too hard for you. You know, like the teachers tell them at school, you know you're going to starve to death. They're not going to starve to death. They're not going to starve to death. Start them early. Why start them early? When you start them early, they spend their lifetime doing it, and they become into it. It's easy for them, not difficult for you. So when you talk about this love of the Rasulullah, it's not abstract. It's not something up in the air. It's not fairyland. It's not Walt Disneyland. It's not something like that. It starts where? It starts in your heart, and it starts in your home. That's where it all begins. It begins with you. It begins with me. Very first thing, wake up for Fajr. I find this the thing that's lacking in so many people's lives. They don't wake up for Fajr. Wake up for Fajr. Wake your wife up for Fajr. Wake your children up for Fajr. If you don't go to the masjid, pray in the house and pray together, all together. This is what gives strength. This is the beginning of it. Do you talk about love of the Rasul? Then live like the Rasulullah. Live like he lived with Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Like he lived with Aisha, like he lived with his wife, like he lived with Fatima, like he lived with Ali, like he lived with Hassan, like he lived with Hussein. That's the model. You think he slept in the morning? I'm tired too this morning. I'm going to sleep. Huh? No. Every morning up and on the rug. That's it. So this is not, again, brothers, this is not something abstract, something you go to once a month, something like that, you hear something. This is something that you have to attend to every day. This is the life of it. Pay your zakat. This is another thing people are lacking in. Pay it. Pay it, either like what they say in America, pay now or pay later. You don't want to pay later, believe me, but pay now. And let your children see that and explain that to your children. What are you doing? What am I doing with I'm pure. Zakat mean what? Zaki, yani to purify, to cleanse. This is how I cleanse my. Everybody else is scared about the economic problem. Muslims aren't scared about the economic problem. Why? Allah huwa malik al-mulk. Allah huwa malik al-mulk. Allah huwa mughni. Allah huwa ghani. All of the money belongs to Allah. It doesn't belong to the U.S. government. It doesn't belong to some bank. It doesn't belong to every penny, every dollar, every pice, every dirham, every ana, everything belongs to who? Allah. Allah is the one who pays everybody. Allah yarzuqu man yasha bighayri hisab. Bighayri hisab, without accounting, He pays. Don't worry. But if you don't do what He says, then worry. Because you didn't do what He said. Simple. So first step, follow the sunnah. You want to say, I'm a lover of the Rasul? Prove it. Prove it by your actions. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wa amilu salihati. Amanu wa amilu. Amanu wa amilu. Two things. Allah makes things in pairs. What is the pair of belief? Action.